Can you guess who's our guest tonight? Get an A on the test tonight. You can say you're the best tonight if you've guessed who. Here's the top of a photograph. Here's a peek at the lower half. Now a shot that'll make you laugh. Have you guessed who? Who's gonna share the times that were bad? Times when they blew it. Who's gonna share the struggle they had and how they got through it? We'll go after the facts tonight. Guess who's under the axe tonight? Just sit back and relax and see if you've guessed right. Have you guessed who's our guest tonight?
Hi, I'm Agatha Richards.
And I'm Ed Rambeau, and welcome to Guess Who.
Each week we'll give you clues to our surprise guest, and you can see if you've guessed who.
Tonight, our very special guest is the father of the talk shows, who refers to himself as nice, bland, and simple.
Oh, but Eddie, he's one of the cutest little fellas I've ever seen.
The same people who go to bed with him are not the same people who wake up with him.
That's true. And you know, he's been responsible for the making of many stars.
Yes, and he's a great humanitarian with the same initials as Olivia de Havilland's sister.
Well, have you guessed who our guest is? If not, keep guessing and stay tuned. Because right after this message,
You'll be able to see if you guessed who. Hi, welcome back. We have one more musical clue for our guest tonight. Listen to this and see if you know from this.
ladies and gentlemen, the king of nostalgia, the father of the talk shows, Mr. Joe Franklin.
Welcome, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Did you say king of neuralgia? Nostalgia. You say king of nausea? No.
Joe, before we start the interview, we'd like you to take a look over there on the board and see if that rings a bell.
For you.
Does that ring a bell to you? The sign right here.
No sex, no politics, no religion.
Oh, that's amazing.
Not to be discussed. Does that bring back memories?
When I broke into radio in 1947 on WNEW, that was on the wall. That sign, no sex, no politics, no religion. That's bygone era. Talked about 15 minutes.
They were short talk shows.
Right.
I think you said in an article that if that sign were hung today, there'd be nothing to talk about.
Actually, at that time, there were no talk shows. Everything was records. And news in those days, there was 1 minute of news on the hour. 59 minutes of music, 1 minute of news. Today, news is...
Constantly.
That's it. It never ends. So I guess news has become more important. But those were the days of Martin Block. In fact, I was on the air following a man named Eugene O'Neill Jr., who very sadly committed suicide. But I don't know how I got so morbid. That was
Do you recall who was the first person you ever interviewed?
Yeah. Fannie Hurst.
That's where you got your title, Memory Lane, isn't it?
Right. They gave me an hour a day on TV. This was about 1952, 51. They asked me, could I occupy an hour a day? So like a fool, I said yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any... now I've had 67,000 guests by now. But
67,000?
Yeah, I read some facts that said that by 1965, this is 1965, you had done 4,000 shows and 60,000 commercials, most of them without a script. And that's 1965.
I think I learned that from the man I just mentioned about commercials, Martin Block. He would just get a fact sheet and he could sort of ad-lib around the fact sheet. And I've never read a commercial. I've done maybe by now 90,000 live commercials just from the facts.
It's a hard way to sell it, too, isn't it? It takes a special person to do that.
I learned at the footsteps of the master, a man named Martin Block, who had the program called the Make Believe Ballroom years and years ago.
Now, your favorites are Al Jolson and who's
Eddie Cantor.
Eddie Cantor, right?
It's going to be a big banquet in honor of Al Jolson.
When I was a little kid, I used to imitate, in my hometown, Hazleton, Pennsylvania, I used to do imitations of Eddie Cantor.
Really?
And Al Jolson. I used to sit through Al Jolson movies continuously. all day long. My sister worked at the box office of the theater, so she used to let me sneak in for free, and I'd just sit in there all day.
Boy, I wish I had a sister with a job like that. But Jolson is going to be honored posthumously. He's going to get an Academy Award next year for the jazz singer. He was born in 1885, so in 1985, which is the year after next, I guess, he's going to be honored. But and Cantor was my first friend in show business, Eddie Cantor. I was very close with Eddie, and he taught me a lot. Taught me to get out of the business, but I was too stupid to pay attention.
I'm glad you didn't listen.
I've got a son, thank God, doesn't want to be in this business. He wouldn't have any part of it.
He doesn't. What does he want to do?
It's a rough game.
Did you use the opposite approach on him? Tried to get him in the business?
Would you believe it? I got him his own cable TV show once. It lasted for 2 weeks, and then he quit.
He hated it. What does he want to do?
He's in mail order advertising. He's better off.
Now, you started a lot of stars off. The first time they were on shows were on your shows, even before they were famous, right?
That's very true. And I don't like to say I discovered them. Nobody discovers, but I gave the first exposure ever on my talk shows to Barbra Streisand, Flip Wilson, Woody Allen, Liza Minnelli, Al Pacino,
Tiny
Dustin
Tim.
Hoffman, Tiny Tim.
Oh, what's Tiny Tim like?
Well, I used to tell him I hope he's saving his money for the time when his beauty fades.
I saw him once. He's the sweetest guy in the world, but oh my gosh.
Remember when he was married on the Johnny Carson TV show?
Yes.
I was invited to that wedding, but I couldn't find a formal shopping bag, so I didn't. But that was it. Yeah.
I saw him
rating.
I saw him at a party about 2 years before he hit, and he just came in with this paper bag and this little ukulele, and he was very thin then. Now he's gained a little weight.
But he's a lovely guy. He's a beautiful man, and we share a great affection for old phonograph records, old 78s.
Yeah.
Sung by people that you never heard of. Henry Burr, Billy Murray, Arthur Fields, Irving Kaufman. They were the big recording stars of way back when.
Joe, if you hadn't gotten into this profession, what would you have done?
Well, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a journalist. And I still want to write someday. I want to produce movies. But I took that summertime job in 1947 at WNEW, and Martin Block liked me, got me my own radio show, which I called Vaudeville Isn't Dead, and I've never stopped since 1947.
You said you wanted to produce movies. You love all of the old movies. What kind of movie would you produce?
Well, I'm working now on the life of Veronica Lake. Remember the name Veronica Lake?
Yes.
The peekaboo hairdo?
Beautiful.
During the Second World War, you know.
Excuse me, I think we have a commercial.
Oh, we do.
That's very important.
Aren't you going to talk about this outfit you're wearing?
Oh, yes. We want all our people to stop in and go to Chimney. It's a clothes store that dresses Agatha.
And I must say they do a beautiful job.
Isn't that? It's a lovely outfit.
Really fantastic.
Yeah. And if you go in to Chimney and tell them that Agatha sent you, they will give you a 10% discount on anything over $100 purchase. And believe me, you will go wild.
So stop in. Now back to Joe.
How do you spell chimney? I want to go there.
S-H-E-I-M-O-N-I-E.
They have an
Beautiful name.
evening gown you'd love.
I love that one.
Yes.
Would you wear it?
And the marble, yeah.
Right. Well, the model will.
Now we get kinky.
Right. I wanted to ask you a question. You said you had Barbra Streisand on. You made a statement about her that we read that was really kind of cute. It was about the fact that when you first saw her. Do you remember what you said?
Probably
Something about you wanted to ask her how much she...
would charge to haunt a house.
Yes!
Well, that's true. Yeah, she sang on
Did
my
she
show.
know that? Did you say that right?
Oh, yeah, that's in my book. And she acknowledges in her book that I was her earliest advocate.
Really?
In her autobiography. Yeah, she's... I got her into the Bonsoir on the same bill with Dick Cavett. About 1960.
What was Dick doing? Stand-up comedy?
Stand-up comedy.
Yeah?
And he wasn't a big hit on his opening night, but I guess he's improved.
Your father worked for the Daily Mail, didn't he? So it's all in the family.
That's right, on the Daily Mail alongside Ed Sullivan. Ed Sullivan was a sports reporter, and my father at the next desk was probably financial reporter, or general assignment reporter. And I knew Ed very well. Ed Sullivan was very attached to his work. When his program ended, he sort of fell apart.
Yeah.
Same thing with Walter Winchell. When his program ended, he fell apart. There's one thing about me, I didn't mean to get heavy, but at least I'm not that attached to my work. When it ends, I think I'll live on. See, my work is not my life. You know what I'm saying?
What do you do in your spare time? What kind of things do you do?
I go home, I watch my old movies. I've got a big movie library. I've got a big record library.
You have guests come in, don't you, and watch the movies?
Once in a while. Only, I would never inflict my nostalgia on people. If they love
People
it.
that want to come.
Right, if they love it.
Because Otto Preminger comes? He's a neighbor of mine. He lives on 64th Street, or he used to.
Great man. Very facetious, very sarcastic man. Not feeling too well now, I heard, right? Great
No,
man.
the last time I saw him, he didn't look well at all.
That's what I understand, too.
Yeah.
There's a man, just to mention his name gives you a tingle. Whatever you're seeing on the movie screen today, you owe to Otto Preminger. He was the first man who defied the code. And they wouldn't give him the production code because he had the word virgin and the word climax in The Moon is Blue. It was the first movie to go past the Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm era, and that man invented what's happening. What he said then is Pollyanna compared to what's happening today. But I'm glad that we gave Preminger that little bit of due recognition.
You know, the little trivia that, well, I wouldn't call it trivia, but the facts that you just told us there, I have something for you that I've been saving, and I heard. There's a movie star that when he came to Hollywood had to change, he's from, I think, the 40s, and he had to change his name because another movie star had taken his name. And I think I have it written down here.
That's happened in many cases where somebody couldn't use his real name because somebody else had. It happened to somebody named Jimmy Stewart. There's another actor whose real name is Jimmy Stewart. I forget who it was. Stuart Granger, I think it is. Stuart Granger's real name is Jimmy Stewart. So Stuart Granger couldn't use Jimmy Stewart. That's happened many. There was a Joan Crawford once, couldn't use Joan Crawford. And Joan Crawford's real name wasn't Joan Crawford. So
what is Joan Crawford's real name?
Well, it was Billy Worth and Lucille Lassour.
Lucille Lassour.
It was a series of two.
Oh, boy. That's some name, Lucille Lassour.
Why Billy Worth, Lucille Lassour?
Because her real name when she was born was Billy. Maybe not Billy Worth, I forget. But there was but some movie magazine ran a contest to find a name for.
Excuse me 1 second.
Yeah.
We'll be back right after this.
I'll tell you that one when we come back.
Cash register time.
Hi, welcome back. And now what you've all been waiting for.
Well, I just want to say again that I'm having fun with this switch.
On this side of the...
Back and forth.
Interviewing the interviewer, right?
How many times have you been interviewed very much?
I would say about a dozen times in my life. I don't, for every one I do, I turn down 1,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of...
Joe, if there's anybody that, I mean, you've interviewed thousands of people at this point. Is there anybody you haven't interviewed that you would like to, and why?
Well, I had a want list of about 6. I've since had 5.
Yeah?
I wanted John Wayne. I wanted Cary Grant. I wanted James Cagney. I had everyone that I wanted except Greta Garbo.
Greta Garbo.
And we meet in the street and we smile.
Yeah.
We never spoke, but we smile. I'll walk past her, and she'll walk past me, and I'll turn around, and I'll see she's turning around. We glance, and I know she listens to me on the radio all night, because once I played a Greta Garbo soundtrack album of her movie dialogue, and somebody called me up who was with her that night and said, Mr. Franklin, Miss Garbo is listening, and she's crying. I could hear her in the back sobbing, you know. So I know that she's aware of me. And I'll get her. I'll get her before I phase out.
Do you know that if you take a picture of her in the street, if you see her in the street, and you take it to the newspapers, you can get money for it only if you don't develop the film.
Really?
You have to let them develop
do it.
Yeah. If they develop it, they'll pay you. But if you develop it and bring it to them, you get zilch.
In other words, they don't want any copies around. Is that the idea?
I guess they think that if you develop it and bring it to them, you could phony it up, fake it up. If they've got the negative, then they can see.
You know, her autograph, they say, is worth $2,000.
Is that right?
Because she signs very few.
I've heard her in my fruit shop. I was busy in my little fruit shop around the corner, squeezing the whatevers.
Well, she goes to nutrition stores. She buys vitamins, and if you can get her to sign receipts, you'd be a rich man.
You couldn't miss that voice. But the one person I was going to tell you about is Gary Cooper. Changed his name to Cary Grant, supposedly.
Gary Cooper changed his name
supposedly his name was Cary Grant.
His real name was Cary Grant.
No, that's wrong. Whoever said that.
That is wrong?
No, his name. I forget his real name. He lived in Montana, a block away from Myrna Loy. I'll think of his real name later. But that's
How
not
do you
important.
file all this in your
remember all that. Well, you just love it, right?
I've got pretty total recall. Pretty total recall.
How about Eddie Cantor and Jack Benny?
Eddie Cantor's real name was Izzy Itzkowitz. Izzy Itzkowitz.
Why did he change it?
Well, because it was hard to spell Izzy.
Itzkowitz.
And Jack Benny's real name was Benjamin Kobletsky.
Wow.
They were Irish
Those are
people.
some names.
Irish
Yeah,
people.
Irish people. You said one time that Joan in the Post in 1966, and we've done some research here.
Boy.
You said Joan Rivers had a nostalgic way about her. Would you explain that to me?
All I know is she's red hot nowadays, right? Joan Rivers
Yeah.
was my anchor lady on TV, maybe 400 times, studying my technique. And she started her own TV talk show called That Show. Didn't last long, but then she went into a phase, and
Now she's on Johnny Carson.
oh, she's #1 today. She
Yeah.
gets higher ratings than Johnny Carson.
What do you think about her brand of humor?
You can't suppress it anymore. She's wild. I don't know what's going to be in 10 years from now, unless it's going to be a total playback to the days of virginity and no more wide open. But it certainly has gotten wide open lately, right? I
Did
can't
you say
believe
she
She
has
said
a
anything.
nostalgic quality because you think years from now she will be remembered?
Joan Rivers, I don't think will be remembered. I say she's of the moment, and she's gigantic, but who'll be remembered
Not
from
be
now?
remembered,
Who'll be remembered except Elvis
Right.
Presley and the Beatles? Nobody today is going to be remembered. Impersonators can't impersonate anybody today. They still have to impersonate Betty Davis and Tallulah Bankhead and Wallace Beery.
The old
Yes,
standbys.
that's
And
true.
James Cagney. I mean, the people today are great. Dustin Hoffman, Al Pacino. And who's big among the ladies today? Meryl...
Meryl Streep,
And,
Jane Fonda.
but you can't impersonate them.
Yeah.
They're
No,
everyday
you can't.
people, right?
Yeah. Andre, are you ready with the caricature? Or a comment? Andre always
You're
gives us a
afraid you are?
comment.
I hope you'll forgive me.
Aha, watch out.
It occurred to me. I think I'm the only person here who's never been on Joe Franklin's show.
I need you. Where's
Well, I
that?
have.
No, I haven't either.
That's three of us.
No, I mean,
Notice how we wangle invitation.
if he assembled all the people who'd ever been on his show, gave them guns, he'd have an army big enough to defeat the Soviet Union.
Yes.
But I got to
Is
tell
that
you one
true?
thing, Andre, and the panel. Most of the superstars, when they become superstars, don't come back to me. It's a very sad story.
Oh, that's true all the time, though, isn't
Because
it?
I represent the time to them when they were broke. So you got to make me one promise, that after you're on my show, which will be soon, and if you become multi-millionaire, super-duper stars, will you come back to me later on?
Cross our hearts.
Right, that's all I want to do.
And we just did that, so that counts.
Anyway, take a look at your caricature. You probably can see it better on the
We're
monitor.
going to show it on the monitor right now.
I'm ready. I
And
am
Andre,
ready.
you have what did you write on his?
It says here, what do modern kids know about show business anyway? I was doing this when they were doing pee-pee in their diapers.
Andre, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something about Andre, that he's a fantastic man, because while I was being interviewed, he was not only sketching, but he was paying attention rapturously to our dialogue. So he's a professional. He's a beautiful man.
Unbelievable man.
Yeah.
Beautiful man, really. I love a man who can really pay attention, and looking at his face sort of motivated me to keep on talking.
He's the captain.
Oh my God, let's get married.
Is he a good cook?
Can you cook?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I can.
But Andre's already married.
So what? Three's coming.
Chinese bride.
Fashion stuff. Besides, he'd like my other bride.
You know, we've been talking about show business.
Right.
But I heard that one time you almost became one of the investors that bought the New York Jets.
Yeah, but I decided not to. I wish I knew
You're
more
not
about.
big about sports, are you?
No sports. Indoor
Why were you
sports.
going to invest?
I had a good year that year, but I didn't. I'm sorry I didn't. I was much more of a gambler. I took bigger risks when I was a kid. When I was 18 years old, I produced Eddie Cantor at Carnegie Hall. I took about $36,000 in at the box office on a $3,000 investment.
Did you really?
Yeah, but then later on, I got. You get a little bit older. You either go one way or the other. I went the other. I got too cautious. I wish I hadn't, but I have no complaints.
What do you think about them moving to New Jersey?
Channel 9, it's about 18 months off. I think it will serve Jersey very well.
You said that in an article that you were very happy about the move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how long can I be on TV. I'm serious. Another year, maybe another 2 years. Then I'm going to go more behind the scenes and produce shows like this.
Oh, great.
Great.
Well, we're ready.
I've had my name in TV Guide, Joe Franklin's show. Somebody told me about 21,000 times. It said Joe Franklin's show. And originally Joe Franklin's Memory Lane, about 21,000 times.
Speaking of Memory Lane, we're playing
Cash registers.
Thanks for the Memories right now. And I think we have to take a brief break here, so we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome back. By the way, the address you were just given to write to, if you have any questions, make them silly, make them funny, make them strange.
Anything for the stars that you want to know.
They'll pick your question out of a box and answer it for you. You won't know who's going to answer it because you won't know who's going to be on, but write them in. We'll have fun.
No, we'll try and make sure the stars answer them for you, all of the questions.
We're sitting here with Joe Franklin, and we've got about 2 more minutes. Joe, do you know any interesting things that have happened, bloopers that happen on your show?
Bloopers, I've had so many bloopers. I wouldn't want to tell them on live on TV. No matter how wide open today's morality may be.
Isn't there one that you can?
The only real blooper is something maybe personalized or private in my own life. The people that I was afraid to interview because I thought they would turn me down. I wanted to ask Bert Lahr. I wanted to ask George S. Kaufman, Groucho Marx, Fred Allen. But they all looked so grim and sour. I was afraid to approach them. I was afraid I'd be turned down. And later on, in each case, I found out they wanted to be on my show. They kept wondering why I didn't ask them. So isn't that sad?
So now you've learned to do it.
After they're dead, I can't have them. So I've gotten more bold, more courageous.
Joe, would you like to come over and sign your caricature?
We'd like to thank our audience for being here, and thank you very much for
I
joining
want to
us.
thank you for what you've done for the art and the science of advancing
Right.
the talk show. I mean,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. See you next week. Thanks to you and our guest tonight, we can say we've been blessed tonight. We've had only the best tonight, our guest and you. Everyone wants to hit their mark, and